I've been working with fire since 2001. And I discovered that technique in a dream, actually. I dreamt that I was looking at this painting in a gallery, and this painting was done with fire, and I knew it in my dream that it was done with fire. So when I woke up that next morning, I decided to try it, and since then I've been working with fire. Working with fire is like working with any kind of pencil or paintbrush. It's instead of using those, you just use the flame of a candle. And when it touches the surface, it creates soot. And from those traces, I either leave them as is and work with the randomness of those shapes, or I really sculpt them into a very figurative drawing.
¡Ay, qué divertido! Parezco un cachetón.
Danielle was a science teacher all of her life. She's really specialized in environmental education. She's a lover of nature. She's a genius in sharing her passion for nature. She really communicates very well, especially with children.
Yeah, I think for me, when we were walking on the path, there was a great deal of anticipation and excitement about seeing what I wanted to see pretty much my whole life, a sanctuary filled with millions of monarchs, all together hanging on trees. I could not wait for that sight. So the first butterfly that, as Steve said, greeted us and welcomed us into the forest was so exciting to see this one butterfly. And then there were more and more and more. And eventually we got to that place where at the center of the forest, there are these oyamel trees, these pines covered by these monarchs. And the color was such that in the sun, it looked like the underwing of the monarchs has a shade of rusty brown. So it actually looked like the trees, the leaves are brown, and those are big clumps of leaves just hanging on the branches. And then as we approached, we realized that those were in fact the monarchs. It was a true moment of reference. I felt like I was entering a cathedral of life, a spectacle of nature that I was so privileged to share with others and to see myself.
An entomogram is a new word. It's a word that I invented, that we invented because it says entomo. Entomo is prefix for insects, and gram is for graphie, for drawing. So it's a drawing done by insects.
The monarch butterfly is actually a tropical species, and so it has adapted in the most incredible way to being able to live in the north, yet survive the winters by simply migrating away from the cold regions of its distribution area. So basically monarchs will start it in the end of February, March, and in 3 or 4 generations, as the milkweed appears, the monarchs migrate north. And all monarchs that live on the east of the Rockies will actually, after a summer in Canada and the United States will actually start migrating back to Mexico, where they're going to hibernate. So this migration is done in one generation. The butterfly takes about 100 days to fly close to 3,000 kilometers, and they merge, they congregate all in these exact same places on the exact same trees year after year.
The fascinating part about that species is that the monarch that is born here in Canada will migrate down south and will live 3 times longer than his parents, grandparents, and so on. They are programmed to go south as their parents were programmed, all their parents were programmed to go north. So that's really fascinating.
It's like a relay race for survival. Yet we don't know where the instructions come from.
Knowing that the population are collapsing, knowing that maybe we can lose those butterflies. If we would lose those butterflies, it wouldn't be just loss of one orange butterfly. It would be that mysterious thing about nature. It's what makes life so mysterious and so beautiful to live. You want those magic moments, those magic living things. You don't want to extinguish that.
Monarchs are part of the groups of insects that are butterflies or lepidopteras, and that group of insects have scales on their wings that create patterns of color.
Yeah, if you look at a wing of a monarch or any kind of butterfly, if you look at a wing underneath a microscope, you'll see that it's all composed of little squares or little scales. And there's a rapport formel, there's a perfect analogy between that scale factor in the wing and our work of art, because it's all done with little pixels. It looks the same.
And if we take this metaphor analogy even further, collectively, hundreds of people have worked on this project and contributed to what is, in the end, this large self-portrait of the monarch with the mission of engaging people in protecting it. So that, again, in itself is a mosaic of a community of people who care and want to bring change in this world. Scientists estimate that in the last 10 years, approximately 90% of the population of monarch has disappeared. So that is alarming, it's dramatic. And the reason for that is that there are multiple causes. Deforestation, herbicides, genetically modified monocultures are main factors. Climate change is another, as well as overall, the impact of all these things is that monarchs are losing their habitats. So the solution to help the monarch is to actually create habitats. It is incredibly surprising how resilient life is. And in fact, a person who wishes to have a very small garden with indigenous nectar-producing flowers, as well as a few milkweed plants, can become an oasis for monarchs. It can become the lifeline that the monarchs need to move around and find what they need to survive.